An eye on the Muslim Brotherhood. So a question arises: why do we need to address the issue of the Muslim Brotherhood existence in Europe? I think we all think actually it's a very crucial, it's a very sensitive, highly undecided, and at the same time is still on debate by European institutions, by European governments, and therefore there is an existing and a continuous need to discuss that issue, look at the root causes, the implications, the ramifications actually of how this is evolving, and a question arises: where do we go from here? How should European institutions, European governments deal with this international organization called the Muslim Brotherhood? So, the Muslim Brotherhood in Europe. Incidentally, I'm going to keep it as short as possible because we have three of the top experts on the issue as panelists tonight, so I'm going to keep my own presentation very, very short. So let's talk about the existence of Muslim Brotherhood within the European continent. We can see Italy, France, Denmark, and other countries. These are the countries, the European countries, where the Muslim Brotherhood has predominant existence, influence, either within the political spheres, or within the financial institutions, and within the society as well. Moving on. So, how did the Muslim Brotherhood came into existence within Europe? As we all know, the Muslim Brotherhood organization was founded by Hassan al-Banna, the late Hassan al-Banna, in 1928 in Egypt. But later on, due to persecution by the Nasser regime in Egypt, they scattered out of the country, mainly from Egypt to different countries. Some of them went to Arabian countries such as Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, etc. At the same time, some of them went to Europe, and this is the main issue that we're going to focus on tonight. The Muslim Brotherhood started during the 50s in Europe by the arrival of the late Mr. Said Ramadan, who was born in 1926 in Egypt. He was son-in-law of Hassan al-Banna, and then he moved due to these persecutions, he moved to Germany, along with thousands of others who exploited the situation, the human rights situation, and the leniency of the European laws at the time, which continues to some extent till our current days. And Said Ramadan found that this is a safe haven, and he started the very first organization. From there onward, he moved on to create or to establish the Islamic, to be more precise, to take over the Islamic Center in Munich in 1960. And this is where the foundation of the Muslim Brotherhood organization started in Europe, and then moved on to other countries like Belgium, Netherlands, UK, etc., etc. So some statistics. As I just said, the Muslim Brotherhood exploited the lenient immigration laws to establish safe havens and portrayed themselves as victims of persecution, and that they have been targeted because they are seeking freedom of thought, freedom of free expression to be seen. Incidentally, copies of this presentation will be sent to each and every attendee tonight in their individual emails. Moreover, they will be available through the website within perhaps tomorrow, latest by tomorrow. Let's look at some case study, a very short case study about the Islamic community of Germany, which is by far one of the most prominent or most powerful Muslim Brotherhood organizations in Europe, which works and was so significant about this organization that it has seen a remarkable growth over the past few decades. And this is why we have chosen it as a case study. So it collaborates with many organizations, Muslim Brotherhood organizations, to name just in more than 30 German cities. And then again, along with these organizations, it collaborates with other Muslim Brotherhood organizations all throughout the continent, their continent. It runs mosques, schools, annual meetings, and it makes, what's not added in the slide here, that it makes use of the leniency that can be found in university campuses, where it can hold meetings, seminars, symposia, etc., away from the security eyes, if you may say. And that lays the foundation to attract not only members of the Muslim Brotherhood, but also sympathizers and people who don't have a specific political affiliation. And it's a hotbed for indoctrination and gaining and getting new members on board. And it issues, moreover, the so-called Islam magazine due to these activities, it has hundreds of thousands of supporters, which gave it political leverage within Germany, especially within Germany. And moreover, what's more important is that has given an influence about how the Muslim communities in Germany vote. And this is, again, a very vital and crucial issue. So let's go back to, as I mentioned at the beginning, there were the Muslim Brotherhood, when they started fleeing Egypt in the 50s, some of them went to Europe, like the late Sayyid Ramadan, who established the first existence of the very foundations of the Muslim Brotherhood in Europe, while others moved into Arabian countries. We're looking at, we have to mention that they did have influence of varying influence in Arabian countries, but there stands out a country where they had the most influence, that is to say Qatar, which we have here nicknamed as the blueprint state. For the very simple reason that since the 50s, when they start coming into Qatar, they start gradually taking control over the ideological, scholastic, and political scene in Qatar. And therefore, it has been the very first experiment where they tried to establish a government, or perceive the government, and to see to themselves how they can run it, operate it, to what extent. There are stark examples in this case. We can talk about Yusuf al-Qaradawi, the well-known Mufti of the Muslim Brotherhood, who controlled the Qatar University, Abdul Sattar, just to mention a few examples, who used to be this cultural advisor to the ruler of Qatar, Hassan al-Ma'arji, who controls the Ministry of Education, and he was the former teacher, private teacher of the former Emir of the country, Hamad bin Khalifa. And this shows, has been clearly exemplified by the ideological change. Hamad bin Khalifa has mentioned previously that at some point when he was younger, he used to have Ba'athist affiliations. However, due to the influence of his teacher, he turned from a Ba'athist, that is a pro-Arab nationalist, into a supporter and a sympathizer. So the organizers are not following the rules. Thank you. So we have another example as Mr. Like Ahmad Al-Assal, Abdul Halim Abu Shaka, who controlled Qatar charitable organizations. Again, a huge source for money. If you work in public affairs, you need to have source to brilliant amounts of money. Obviously, the three other gentlemen who saw, and this is very crucial, who oversaw the development of school textbooks and curricula. So how do you control? What's the very basic and the most influential way to control or to form the public conscience of a country or a nation is by playing around or messing with the curriculum, obviously. And again, it controlled. There was another source for controlling it for huge financial gains, was taking control of Islamic organizations and waqfs, endowments in English.
In this challenging age where harmful ideology respects no
So we have, this is one of the known experts on the Muslim Brotherhood, Tim Collins. He's a former retired army commander who addressed the House of Commons in the UK, talking about how European countries have suffered during to the negative impact of Muslim Brotherhood activities in the country as they attempt to undermine, and try to distort the social cohesion within the society into their favor. And he talked again about another crucial issue is about the financial gains. He talked about 150 million US dollars, spent by the Muslim Brotherhood and spent and given to various European institutions, in a bid to exert influence and bribe and as much as possible within influential circles in the European countries. So again, if you have the money and you have the political support, you need 1/3 element to to achieve your goals, which is the media support, obviously. And all of us have seen over the past, say, 15 years or so, how Qatar, the state of Qatar, has promoted and sponsored the Muslim Brotherhood agenda through its various media tools and organizations. To name a few, Al Jazeera, very well known to everyone, attending Dar al-Marifa, and etc. And we can see a number of TV stations, print media, websites, etc., especially in London, which is considered the second media haven for anyone Arab dissidents who cannot leave their countries anymore. And when we talk about the Qatari support for Muslim Brotherhood, that is not limited to the Muslim Brotherhood. That includes also collaboration, illegal and illicit, and collaboration with other terrorist organizations. For instance, as you can see, probably, I don't know if you can see it in the back. Not proper. So just to take one example, in February 2013, Qatar mediated the release of hostages who were kidnapped by Al-Qaeda in Yemen, including a Swiss woman, in return of millions of dollars. And these, I wouldn't want to bore you with the nitty-gritty details of these, but these have been ongoing, and it's not a one-off thing. And what's the importance of these payments, which are usually headed or paid the flag of releasing innocent people, who paying ransom to release innocent people, especially Westerners. The importance of this is that this is the indirect way that the Qatari regime supports terrorist organizations, be it Sunni or Shia. And the mother of all these, as my friend used to like to call it, is the one where they paid almost $1 billion to terrorist Shia militias in Iraq and Syria. And we're not setting allegations without proof, without evidence here. Everything especially about this mother of deals, all deals, is documented, payments, photocopies of checks, transactions, correspondence, diplomatic correspondence, etc., etc. So I'd like to leave you with one question. The takeaway from my presentation is that a huge question mark arises with regards to the destination, the future of the Muslim Brotherhood in Europe, whether the European governments are willing and have the political determination to take action and to make more probes into the activities of Muslim Brotherhood on all spheres and come up with solutions that will resolve this issue. Thank you very much.